Hi everybody, it is Allison Dawrant from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I have my art poetry for insights and inspiration art card deck right here with me, and it is the beginning of a new year, 2024, and I'm pretty good about pulling a card every day, but I did get a little bit out of a rhythm. And so I'm gonna just pull a card from my deck. I had pulled this one yesterday, which I really appreciated. This one, it says, "Don't get stuck in the details." And this painting has my reticulated background, so you can just see, I mean, this is a print obviously of the original, so it's kind of hard to see the texture, but there's this reticulated pattern, almost like little branches, little neurons, little sort of, I don't know what you would call it, like roots. Someone who had purchased this original painting from me said it really reminded her of one of her trips. I forget where it was. She was in the desert somewhere, and she was talking about sand dunes and just the way the weather changes the look of the sand dune. And it made me think of not getting stuck in the sand when I was trying to think of words to go with this card. And whenever, like when I had created this card deck, I would not name the artwork the title that I had given it for the original, if that makes sense. I just put words that kind of resonated with the art on the card. So not getting stuck in the details is something I need to remind myself of really often. And this year, I really want to get focused on not getting caught up in details. I don't like to think that I'm a perfectionist, and probably that's the perfectionist in me, not wanting to be called a perfectionist. And I really do sometimes get caught up in too much detail, and I need to relax more. And I know it's better for my heart, it's better for my art. And I love art journaling, and this conversation, like usual, it's taken me in a totally different direction, because this video is going to be about swatching Beam paints, the Canadian company Beam Watercolors, and I'm going to be talking about mounting paper to panel and all sorts of different things. But I did really appreciate getting this card last evening when I pulled it, "Don't get stuck in the details," because when it's the start of a new year, I think it's really easy to put pressure on ourselves to set intentions, to set goals, and it's really hard to follow through, especially if they're goals that aren't quite, small, measurable, specific. If it's too general and it's too hard to stick with, you really don't want to be rigid around goal setting. So I liked this because I had started an art journal last year, and even though I didn't start it January 1st, I had started it it was June of 2023, and I'm so glad I kept this journal. And I was still in this perfectionistic mode of like, I have to do it every day, I want to finish it, and it was just unrealistic expectations. You can see that I really only got, 3 or 4 days totally completed, and then I just decided to start paintings, not worry about finishing them. So there's some that I'm going to go back to, which I'm excited about, but I really just want to take that pressure off of myself as to, having must doing something, should doing something, putting those firm standards on myself, because art is about freedom, it's about expression, it's about not putting pressure on yourself, and that's where I produce the best art. So I'm sort of changing my thinking. I'm going to go back to my journals. I really like the journals where what I was doing, I don't know if I have one here, I would be putting down colors, images, ideas I loved, which is very much what this is. And then I would leave a stick-it note or a little piece of paper with washi tape, that Japanese, almost like a painter's tape. It's a decorative tape that doesn't stick too strongly, it won't wreck your paper. And I would just stick in a little note about what's going on with me personally, my health. So, you know, it could be like a record of sorts, but if I was sharing it online, I could just take out those personal notes. Or, you know, if a year later I didn't want the personal notes to be seen, maybe I just want to, you know, toss them out or paint over them, then I have that option. So I like that idea. This one I just wrote directly on the pages, which that's okay too. You know, but I had some health challenges recently, and I thought, oh, I'm so glad that I had written what was going on, say, last March, and sort of how it relates to what I'm going through now, because I don't have a great memory of things. So I'll pull a card soon, but I wanted to talk about the journal I have just started for the new year. So well, actually I want to show you something. I'm just going to really scoot quickly here. Just a moment. I'm going to get my son's art journal. So my son, who just turned 6, so we made this over the last few days, and we really brought it together this morning, and I really, really love it. I love that it uses things that we had around the house, and so I made it out of cardstock from the back of my watercolor blocks. So really thick cardstock. It was not easy to make this. My dad had drilled holes for me in here because I didn't really have a great device to puncture through. This is a fabric tape that I had used, and I had just thrown in large pieces. I cut up paintings that he and I had done a long time ago on fairly good 140-pound watercolor paper. And I love that he feels like this is his own. This is his own art from probably when he was 4 or 5, and we're going to add more pages in. These were pages that I had put, so behind this pirate ship, which he chose to put on here, was paper from when I was cleaning my brushes. And so, you know, I wanted to show him that you can use things that you have around the house. I used to make cabochon bracelets. These are little glass beads, and I had a lot of extras, some that didn't turn out as well as I'd hoped, and they really are awesome on here, and he had added those on here and on the back as well. So I think I just loved that he feels like he's created something for himself. I love that we're using up things that we have around the house, and he can go to this journal whenever he wants. He may not go back to it. I'm hoping he does, but he may go back to this journal and, you know, put different coloring pages in here, stickers, whatever he wants. But this is his space. He can use it how he wants it, and it didn't cost much at all except for time and love. So I had created a few of these for myself, but I have not finished them. I find them very tedious. So what I had done was I had found one from Michaels, which I had purchased. So I'm in Canada, but I believe Michaels is a company from the US, and you can get these probably still. I had ordered one here in Canada this morning because I want to make him one like this as well, but because I'm short of time, I have a very busy family life. My family is still in healthcare. We have a lot of shift work going on, and I just wanted to have a journal that was almost ready-made for me, just to get me in the rhythm of art journaling, but not in a way that would make me feel pressured like before, where I had to do something every day. So I had just taken, again, pieces of really high quality watercolor paper where I was cleaning off my brush. I loved this and how it turned out. I had done a painting with embroidery, and this was a bit of practice, but I had just cut a piece to fit the front and the back, and I used a really strong glue for this. And this is called, so it's from Michaels, and it's called a Spiral Craft Chipboard Journal by a company called Recollections. So I will link that in my profile. And obviously I encourage people to look up YouTube videos. on how to make your own journal. There's so many, there's a lot of wonderful artists out there. I took a class I've taken many classes on making my own art journal. One was through, oh, here's the Recollections Chipboard Album. That's what it's called, acid-free. I think it's meant for photos. Oh, Helen Wells Art. She had made almost like an accordion journal. I think it was called a Concertina journal, and I still have not finished that, but her class was very affordable and it was fun and it was fairly easy compared to some other classes. And so this journal, it is something I'm just really enjoying playing with. I love that there's these photo holders here that I can just, I don't know if my Oracle deck cards, yes, they will fit in there. I should pull an Oracle deck card right now as I'm talking. Gosh, I get so distracted, don't I? This is not what I was going to do today. I'm just going to do a really quick shuffle. Thank you to everybody that has purchased these cards. I believe I have made them. I'm going to make them limited edition. I am really leaning towards that. I had ordered 500 decks. I don't have all that many left, and I still have them listed on my website, and it was such a fun project. But I tell you, just the boxing, the shipping, the packaging, I have orders every day, so it's kept me busy. And I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that has purchased this deck. And let's just see what card comes up. Reach new heights and elevate your practice. So this was a watercolor painting that I had done with some mixed media elements, and I love art poetry, so putting down colors and marks that are almost rhythmic, and the colors just speak to me in the moment. For those of you that have been following me, you kind of know my style. It's very much fluid art, watercolor, acrylic inks, and also written words. So you can just see there the word elevate, and I embellished the gold moon on this card. And I feel like in order for me to reach a new height and elevate my art practice, I almost have to start at the beginning again. So this past year, 2023, I've just been working so hard on the business side of art. And I probably spend 80% of my time on the business, the photography, the marketing, the printing, the website development, the online social media platforms, advertising, promoting myself, collaborating with different companies. Less of the doing, which is my favorite thing, and of course making videos, because that just kind of grounds me and it reminds me why I'm doing this in the first place. I feel like going back to art journaling where there's just no pressure. It's just exploration and play. And that is how I feel like I am going to elevate my practice this year. So whether you're a beginner artist or, a very established artist working as a professional, you may be selling your work in galleries, whatnot. Are you fulfilled by what you're doing? Do you still love what you're doing? Are you somebody that takes commissions and feels a lot of pressure? Because I know for myself, I can't do commission work. I just feel like there's just too much pressure on me, and I cannot produce art in a way that I feel would represent what that other person is looking for. So I do consider myself an intuitive artist by kind of my own definition. I guess, what I want to say, okay, I'm going to just kind of go back to, just going to put my deck back here. I am going to be talking a little bit more about like the creating of an Oracle deck, because I absolutely loved this process. And that's why I probably will make this limited edition. I'm not going to continue selling it, just because for me it was that process. Just like painting, it's not about the final outcome for me. The fulfilling of orders is not my favorite thing, even though I'm really grateful for it. It's become a really good passive source of income. I just love the doing and the meditative break that I get when I'm creating. And I think that's why I decided, to do this with my son, is, just to show him that we can create something from things around us and use it as an exercise for the two of us to really almost bond, like get to know each other. And I just want him to feel like this is his, this is his. Back to this journal. So I love all the little places that I can put things. I was getting a ton of Canada Post. I ship from my home. That's how busy I've been. Is Canada Post has offered to pick up all of my parcels every day at my house. And they also sent me a box of probably 800 plastic labels. And so this is a plastic sheet that I put the labels in, and I've put my little swatch in here of my favorite acrylic paints, and I just kind of stuck that on there. I did the background of a painting I want to go back to. For those of you that know my work, you can see that I use the same color palette quite often. So these colors very much, you can see with this acrylic swatch I did, they really are these colors. So this is a canvas print. It was a sample of one of my works that I put into reproduction, into print, and I was really looking at the color matching, and it's dead on. And my printer, Ken, who's a local printer, is incredible. He only works locally in Calgary, Alberta, so it's tricky for anyone else to access him, but do look in your area to see if you have a local printer, because it can be a really great partnership. And so every print that I get, here I am totally digressing again, but this morning I was fulfilling an order for oracle decks and prints. This is a certificate of authenticity, so it's made on the material that was ordered. The canvas print of my art called of my piece called The Art of the Matter. And I did a whole series of these girls called Matters of the Art. And this is a rolled up canvas print that I'm going to be sending to the US. I still have to look at the address. And I was embellishing it this morning. So instead of shipping a cotton rag of fine art print flat, I am shipping this canvas print. So it's something that the client on the other end can frame themselves behind glass. Or, if they order it as a non-framed canvas print, they can have their art store, their printer, their framer store, frame it on a wood panel, right? Because a lot of art is framed on a panel. So I embellished it with a gold pen. You can see her eyes, the embellishment. And I also embellished some of these little white flowers, and the colors are really beautiful. And what I do is I roll it up in a tube and I ship it just like this. And I've just gotten into shipping instead of flat, because it's so expensive to do this from Canada, to ship a piece flat, that this is just a really great alternative. So it's a rolled canvas print, and to be honest, it's nicer quality, and I love embellishing it. So that's the other benefit of working with a local printer, is you touch all of the art before it goes to the client. Because it's not an original, you want to know what the client is getting. And these certificates are wonderful. And I just have to give a shout out to my printer, because he dropped this off the other day as a Christmas gift. We always swap really, really small little artsy kind of gifts. And this easel he had bought at the art store, and it's the smallest easel I have ever seen. You can see my hand here. And this is a print of my cat that I had titled Milo. and I embellished it. He didn't think I would be able to. He said, you're gonna have to get out a magnifying glass, but I did it. I had a really awesome gold pen from Japan. Japan makes really wonderful art supplies, and I just love this. I don't know how he did it, but oh, I'm really going off track, but that's okay. So I love this journal because I still don't know exactly how I'm going to use these pages. You can see I was starting to do one of my art poetry paintings. This is the background of one that I'm going to do mixed media elements over top. There's this other paper in here, all sort of different weights. There's this plastic divider. I can just slip in, again, if I have like little pieces of art that I have completed or I want to remind myself, I can just slip them in here. And these are wonderful for, you know, this is my cat Bernie. I'm just working on him as another order on a canvas. But I just love that you can kind of hold different things in here. It's just so exciting. So this, oh, and I wanted to show you, if you go to your local hardware store, it's a really, really fun way to get swatches. So I probably got these swatches like 15 years ago, and I put them in my art journal because I was going to cut them out. But I do like to have kind of the names in here, and I just wanted to show you these. In some of my videos, I've been talking about how when I paint, I like to add really bright colors, and then I'll just get that painting. This is one I've started. So I love to start with brights, like almost neons, those fuchsias, opera pink, beautiful bright oranges. And then beside the brights, I add neutrals. So this is an example of called Delicate Lights and Lively Brights. So some really brights. I would start with that usually when I paint. And instead of, you know, when I first started, I would have rainbowitis where I just wanted to paint all the colors of the rainbow. But I had taken some classes and learned that neutrals are amazing and they highlight the brights. So what I'll do with you at some point is a video where we paint a whole bunch of, you know, kind of like bright colors next to choosing neutrals or analogous colors. So analogous colors would be, you know, if we started with this joyful orange, this really, really bright orange, on the color wheel, we would pick a color beside, right next to this bright orange, and we would put that color down. And I've sort of done that in here, and that's just the way I have kind of found my style. I like the way it turns out. I otherwise would just have the whole thing in a rainbow, and it's fun painting that way, but it's not as appealing to the eye as the final process, the final product. So as I was more experienced, I would have these gorgeous brights and then add in these neutrals. So you can just see here on these swatches, and this is by that company. It's from Home Depot. I think it's Behr Painting Company, B-E-H-R. So they have these beautiful light pinks, and then it kind of has an example of neutrals. So I love the way this is shown. And if you look at interior decorating magazines, you'll be able to see that same idea where they have brights, so that bright lime green, but then they have almost like analogous colors, similar greens beside the brights. They have neutrals, which are like whites, lights, Titan buffs, titanium zinc, titanium white, darker, you know, they have the black computer in here, the black table legs, and you look at this one, the beautiful analogous, so purples, you have the lighter purple, you have darker hues of purple. Just gonna see if I can, okay, yeah, there, I'll just zoom you in a little bit. And then in here, the reds. So if you look at an interior decorating magazine, you will see they use a beautiful kind of a feature color and then a whole bunch of neutrals. And so interior decorating magazines, gardening magazines, they're so well put together that you can sort of borrow what they're doing and play around in your painting. So I stuck that in there. I put my business tag in here, and I wanted to, this is just another example of a canvas print that I'd embellished just as to see how the colors were matched. And because my printer is really great, he'll want to match the original with the print as closely as he can. And so there's 84 pages in this Michael's Recollection journal. And I also wanted to just give a quick shout out to a few people. Katarina from Sweden. Katarina had written me this beautiful note, and she sent me an entire art journal, which I had done sort of like a reel. I forget what the reels are called on YouTube, like a YouTube short. I'm not really into those, but I had just tried it, and where's her? She had sent me this incredible journal, which I've already started making my own. She had written me this note. I think she used like almost like jelly printing, this background of the gorgeous pinks. I love the texture. She was just saying, she was thanking me, but she also said, I hope that you will add anything you want to this gift book, as it's a starter for new inspiration that you have gifted me. This book's purpose is for you to play and make it yours. So I love that she gave me permission, because it's a gorgeous gift. It really is her art, pieces of her art and her heart that she has gifted to me and has given me permission to make my own. So if she's watching, she will see that this cover is already quickly changing in color. I've been using purples. I added this bright pink, some neutrals, the bronze. I covered up Playbook with this beautiful shimmery blue, and she is really good at making these homemade journals, and I am just going to take this. I know my son will love some of these little pieces that she's put in here, but this is what an art journal should be. This bookmark is amazing. So Katarina from Sweden, thank you so much. She did some beautiful origami art, and look at this plum she had done with the Inktense color pencils. Gave me little tips like wetting them. Love the stenciling. I just love how this journal feels. There's so many little pockets of paper and different types of paper, and this is what I want to add to my son's book. There's a beautiful poem about strength, more papers. There's just so much in here. I really love this neurographic art. If you haven't done neurographic art, it's a neat thing to look up. I believe that's what this is. It says, love is all you need. I love these colors. So I'm gonna play with this book and make it my own. So just a shout out again to Katarina. I'm sure it wasn't cheap to send this from Sweden to Canada. And I also wanted to acknowledge a few other people before I do my video. So Zandra C from paintandpapersstudio.com, she had sent me the most beautiful package of, I think it was like, I got some hot chocolate, I got the most beautiful little Christmas cards, some bear cards that she had made, and she had sent me Paul Rubens glitter watercolor paper, which we don't get here in Canada, I don't think. I'll have to look it up, but this came and it is just absolutely gorgeous. So I am gonna figure out how to get this in my art journal and almost cherish it, because I have not seen it here. I'm sure I can order it probably on Amazon now. Anyways, and in this little bag, she'd sent me this gorgeous, this girl, this sticker as well as this kind of like a little keychain. I hope to put that on my journal on the side. And she and her friend Patty Tolley Parrish, who's also a beautiful person and artist that I have met on YouTube here, and I just can't wait to find some time to watch more of her videos because she's so inspiring. Both Zandra from paintandpaperstudio.com and Patty Tolley Parrish are wonderful, wonderful artists with, I think they both have YouTube channels. I have to look up Zandra's, and I was just wanting to show you, they had gone to a New York watercolor class, and I believe that Patty may still be selling these. So this is rose gold and sun gold. And these are the most shimmery watercolors I have ever used. They are so stunning. So thank you for sending me those. And I did do a swatch. So we're gonna do swatching of the Beam paints, the Beam watercolors. And this is Arch's 140-pound cold pressed paper that was on a block. And that's how I do my swatches. But I wanna surprise you. I did something a little differently. So just a few days ago, I had, well, probably a week ago, I posted the ocean paper palette swatch that Jess from Australia had asked me to do for her. And it was a great practice for me. And I actually found a new love of swatching. It's very meditative. And if it helps you guys at all and knowing what watercolors to invest in, then that's awesome. I do these videos, you know, for myself, but also I want to make sure that you get something out of it. So this is the Around the World palette by Ocean Paper, and we did a couple swatches. I have done some swatches on the Kuretake Art Nouveau set. I'm not going to be talking about those at all today though. I really want to highlight Beam paints, and so I'm going to use my round number 12 watercolor brush. And I just can't wait to show you what I have in store. Where is it? Here we go. So here are 54. So this is the complete set of paints from the Canadian company Beam Paints. And now I pulled off this little paper that I just wanted to make sure I was explaining their paints well. They said, "Thank you for supporting our Indigenous family business. The paints you've purchased are made with local Manitoulin, so Manitoulin Island, which I think is near Ontario, Canada, wild crafted tree sap, hand gathered, washed and sifted Manitoulin stone, and the finest light fast pigments. These are all made in hand cut canvas, honey-coated, beeswax canvas. They strive for plastic-free, and they make all of their own packaging, either hand-cut, sanded, reclaimed white cedar or birch, or wrappers hand-printed in their local shop with plant-based inks." Whew, that's a lot. That's why I needed to use this cheat sheet. And they wax them with local beeswax. So when I opened this, I could just smell how beautiful this is with the beeswax. It's really, really lovely. I'm just gonna set that aside, and what I'm gonna do is we're gonna swatch these colors. So this came with this beautiful little palette. A little ASMR for you guys. And I noticed some of these are out of order, so they have the names underneath. So I'm gonna do my best, but what I have done, just going to, let me see, where do I wanna put these? I'm gonna set them just right aside here for a second, so you can see them. And I have my water and my round brushes, and this was sort of the first, when I was first asked to do swatching, I want to just point out again, Zandra C from paintandpapers.com, she had sent me these watercolors, and I believe you can purchase them from either Zandra from her Etsy shop or from Patty Tolley Parrish. This is the rose gold and this is the sun gold. So I wanted to put them on here just so I didn't forget about them, because I had just had those two little pans, and so they borrowed Beam Paint's swatch. And so this was a sticker I had gotten from Beam Paints, and these are all of the colors. So, I mean, every single color you could possibly think of. And I'm just gonna reposition here. And what we're gonna do, which I was excited to share, was I made a swatch palette. So I thought, how cool would it be to take a very affordable, so this I had purchased at a place called HomeSense here in Canada. I'm not sure of where else HomeSense is. It might be a United States chain. But HomeSense, kind of like Winners, it's like a liquidation place. They have a very affordable brand called Montmartre, and I'd found this palette, which I had planned to put acrylic paint on and then actually hang it and either sell it as a painting or just use it as my palette. But I had decided to mount watercolor paper to the back. So this is actually, it had come like this on both sides. And this is 140-pound cold pressed Arches watercolor paper, just waiting for me to swatch Beam Paints on it. That way, when I am enjoying painting with you all this year, and when I'm using Beam Paints, I will have a really great reference. And so I'm not going to put the names on, but I am going to kind of get the colors down first and then reference the names later. So I'll see how this goes. But this was such a fun process. So I have done videos before where I have shown how I have mounted paper to cradled panel. It doesn't have to be cradled panel. You could just buy, you know, find a woodworker, go to a wood shop, and you can probably find pieces of wood that are already cut, maybe going to be tossed out, recycled, reused, and you can mount, or the other word is glue, the paper to the panel. So again, I have done, I think, at least 2 videos on this process. I just wanted to show you how cute it is to have art on wood. And this is actually a painting I had purchased at a gallery here in Calgary. So this is not paper mounted to panel. She just painted these beautiful tulips right on this chunk of wood. And then I stuck in this as an ornament, or to be able to hang this, because I had this on my fireplace, although I just really wanted to have a spot to hang it. So isn't this cute? It's really, really small. It's probably only 2 inches or 3 inches. It's called Pink Party by Kathleen McCullum from Calgary. Oh, 3 by 3 inches square. So just to give you an idea, thinking outside the box, thinking outside this little square piece of wood, she painted right on here. But it was like, I saw this wood, this palette, and I thought, how great would that be to have watercolor, the ability to paint watercolor on it. And what I might do, this is where I'm so excited, is to use Dorland, or I think it's called Gamblin's cold wax medium. So after I get the watercolor down, I'm going to buff on that wax medium, and then I can probably use it as a palette. So I can paint right over my color swatches. So we're going to see how this goes, but I'm just going to start. Well, first I'll just show you. This is another example of a print mounted to panel, and I had painted the edges. I'm still not finished that, and I had put this little sawtooth backing in. I just pushed it in with my fingers because this wood it was handcrafted, so it's not like a fake wood. Kind of cool. I did it with this one as well. I've probably shown you these before, but it's just paper glued to wood. This was a cotton rag, otherwise known as a fine art print. And then you can see I started to paint the edges. I was gonna have these at my art show. I just did not finish everything in time. So again, right now we're working on Arches, cold pressed, fine grain watercolor paper that has been glued So I used a Liquitex matte gel glue, and I used a X-Acto knife to cut it out after I'd flattened it. Again, you can look up this process anywhere, and I'll just show you one of the tricky parts was I had to use this handheld sander, which I use for a lot of my woodwork. And I had to take, so this is Velcro. I just bought this at the local hardware store. There's different grains of sanders. And whenever I mount my paper to panel, I want to make sure that the edges are soft. And this area was really, really challenging. It was really uneven. So I took this off. It's really soft on the back. And I just used this to sand the paper so it was even against the wood grain. So it was just sort of, because of the way this palette was kind of angled here, it was hard to get the wood flat and nice. And I feel like this finished it off really well. So this is just a really great kind of artist tool if you're mounting paper to panel and you want to just, if there's some edges with the X-Acto knife where it's pulled the cotton fibers the wrong way, you can just kind of go with the grain and sand it down. Okay, so let's do some swatching before I get onto something different. I'm gonna start with this color here. So this is called Fireweed, and you can see it right here. It's this gorgeous shimmery color. I'm just gonna put this reference here. And you know what I'm gonna do is activate the watercolors, so spraying them really well. They're just really small in these little canvases. And so we're gonna start with Fireweed. And hopefully my rescue dog, I hear him at the window. Oakley, you're gonna be a guard dog, okay? I feel like he's gonna bark, so. And this one's a little bit harder to activate. It always takes a little bit to get started. So this one here, so pretty. It's like this pearlescent pink. So I'm just gonna put that right here. So again, this is called Fireweed by Canadian company Beam, B-E-A-M Paints. Because I have 53 I need to fit on here, I'm gonna go slow. This is a mica watercolor. This one, it says Summer Sun, but I see that on here it says Strawberry Red. So I am just gonna be mindful that maybe a few of them somehow were packaged in the wrong spot. But anyway, this is called Strawberry Red, not Summer Sun. So this is a beautiful, beautiful color. I might just put it right here. I'll try not to touch them, but isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful, beautiful color there. So that was, again, strawberry red. And then the next one is one of my favorite colors, cherry magenta. First, what I'm gonna do is I have this empty ice cube tray and I was just gonna try and get some of the color off, but I don't know if that's the best way. So I might grab some watercolor paper and I'm just gonna get that color off my brush. And we're gonna go into this cherry magenta. Magenta is one of my favorite colors next to opera pink. I mean, actually next to it when I paint. And in terms of it being a favorite color. So that one there. And interesting, it says wild cherry on the sheet. Now this one is correct, it says red clay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my sparkly paper, and on the back, I'm gonna just clean my brush and start a new painting. Ooh, I got some nice sprays there. because I don't like, again, wasting paint, and I want to keep my water fairly clean. So this next one is called Red Clay. Just see what you guys are looking at here. Really have to be mindful of my ergonomics when I paint and do videos. I've been going to physio for a couple times a week for months, just for some different sort of ergonomical challenges. I think that started maybe during pregnancy, sciatica, piriformis syndrome, that it can be pretty miserable. So sometimes I want to do a video, but I don't because of ergonomics. So my husband and I just invested in new chairs. I'm sitting in the kitchen in one of the new chairs, so we'll see how we do. So this is Red Clay. That's a really great neutral, kind of a brown color. And again, I'm gonna just slip that next to these gorgeous pinks on my beautiful sheet from Zandra by, I think, Paul Rubens. Again, I don't know that name. Paul Rubens watercolor paper. Mars Violet is this next one. Do you think I'll be able to get all 53 on here? I don't know. Some people would probably map it out, but I'm not that kind of person. I just kind of deal with it. If it doesn't fit, I just deal with it when it happens. So Mars Violet, I can sort of see, it reminds me of Violet Oxide by Golden Acrylics, Fluid Acrylics. I have used Violet Oxide in a lot of my acrylic paintings. Oops. And then this next one is Beach Rose. And we can just put it over here by the Mars Violet. So beautiful. I use a lot of pigment when I do swatches, so for those of you that have already seen me doing my swatch videos, you'll know that about my heavy-handedness with the pigment. A lot of people, when they first see my work, other artists will be like, do you use gouache? Do you use acrylic? What is that? What kind of watercolors are those? But it really is, even with Crayola, dollar store, watercolors, I just use a lot of pigment. So the more pigment you use and the less water, you get more of an opaque, solid look to the paint when you put it on the paper versus transparency. So if you want more of a transparent look, you would use more water. So this is a beautiful rose, really, really light pink. And again, I'm going to add it to my little swatch sheet. And then we're going to go into this next one, which is called Harvest Wheat. I'm really getting to know these colors, so that's the benefit of taking the time to do these swatches, because I, again, wasn't really excited about doing these until some of you had reached out and asked. And over here, I'm just adding these wherever I feel like, sort of in a pattern, just touching each other with the brush. And then we're going into Pumpkin, which is a beautiful orange color. Can I get 53? What am I at? 2, 4, 6, 9. Okay, we'll see. But I think this would look really cool on the wall. I was gonna get that dot, but I'm not aiming for perfection here. I'm just aiming for, whoops, swatching. I'm not sure if it helps that I have you zoomed out or in here, so we'll zoom you out for a bit. And this is called Cloudless Sulfur, and it's very much like a neon yellow. It's dripping a little bit. I'm just going to drip it on. We'll put it on our sheet. So acrylic paint tends to dry darker when you get it onto your canvas or your paper, whereas I think watercolor, I don't know, does it dry lighter or darker? I'm not sure. But I know acrylic paint tends to dry darker, so I always try and put it on a little bit lighter because I know it will dry darker. So if you love those light hues, those light colors in your acrylic paintings, just keep that in mind when you're painting. And I did not tell you what I was doing. This is Fall Poplar Yellow. So it's a very, very beautiful, almost that dandelion yellow of the ocean paper. And then the other one was called Cloudless Sulfur. I'm gonna get whatever that dark spot is. Here I am again doing something that's probably trying to perfect it, and I don't want to do that. Burnt sienna. I'll put the burnt sienna maybe up here. I know Laura Horn Art. I love her art and her classes. She uses burnt sienna and a lot of neutrals and greens in a lot of her work. So there's that burnt sienna. And then the next color that I'm gonna do, this looks very much like a warm fall painting over here. This one is called Bread, and it's another neutral. And it does actually look like some kind of bread, maybe like a cinnamon bread or something. And I'm letting those splatters happen. This is Cub Brown. I like how they have one called Wet Grizzly, and this one is called Cub Brown, like bear cub, Cub Brown. It's kind of cute. I don't use a lot of brown, and I like doing these little swatches because I'm using colors that I otherwise wouldn't, and I'll go back to this and be like, whoa, this is really beautiful. So, and then Morning Peach. I love these little canvas wrapped watercolors. They're so, so beautiful. Just put some of the colors that are kind of like each other together, and hopefully I'm going to have space here. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So say like 24. Okay, it should be okay. And you probably remember me saying these Paul Rubens sparkly gifted watercolor papers that I was going to save them for something special. Well, this is the something special, because historically I would probably want to save them and then put them away somewhere to cherish them and then not use them. And so this is me being rebellious and using them for a swatch, because I know otherwise I might just put them away and think of them as being too precious. And they are incredible, but I'm sure I can find them again. And it's just, you kind of want to be mindful of using what you have and not holding it too precious. I I had purchased some mixed media paints when I had first started painting, and I'd invested in some beautiful colors, and I'm trying to think of the name. They were like a mixed media brand, like Diane Revelry or Jane Davenport, and I cherished them to the point of them drying up. So when I went to use them, probably a year later, they had totally dried. Oh, did I say the color? This is Pumpkin Spice, which is one of my favorite colors. This next one is called Turtle Belly. So it's sort of like a rusty red color. I'll just put it up there. I get the Cub Brown. And then this one is Cream. It's almost like a slate gray, kind of a, I don't know how to say it, like a taupey, Titan buff kind of color. I'm just gonna reposition and go to the next color. Oh, that's my water glass. Did not think that would happen. Don't know if I touched it. Okay, this one's called Butter. It's one of my favorite yellows. I love it. It's just a color I use in a lot of my work. It's just so joyful, and it reminds me of sunbeams and light and how we're all kind of chasing light in our lives and maybe in our art. I don't know. I chase light. I chase the sun. And I'm gonna move this drinking water. Wouldn't you know, I used drinking water in the peach container as well as this watercolor water. But today, at least, I had 2 watercolor jars, so I don't have to get up like last time I was doing a swatch with you all. Okay, so this is a really, really beautiful milkweed, it's called. Beautiful, kind of like lime green. Deciding where I want to put it. I might put it up here. And then we're gonna go into this one, which is Spring Green. I love Spring Green. It's really beautiful. I'm gonna try and keep some of the greens together. Maybe I'll just go right up here. I'm not really going in any particular order, but I am being thoughtful about, oops, I just put the paint in the water. I'm trying to be thoughtful about using some of the lighter colors that are of the same family before I dip into the water, just so I don't have so much pigment. This is called Fiddlehead Green. So it's a very shimmery, almost probably like a mica watercolor, Fiddlehead. That's so pretty. And I love that watercolor's transparent, so when these other layers are drying, I'm just going over top of some of them, and it looks so pretty. And when I look back at that swatch, I'm gonna remember doing this video with you all, so. Oops, got a lot of water going on here. Just gonna move this water over here, and this water glass. I tried to put a big sticker of one of my paintings on here so I knew it wasn't drinking water, but does not always help. Okay, this green is called Rainforest. So it's a very traditional, rich green, like a Christmas green almost. And then I'm gonna do, again, my sheet, which is becoming a big rainbow. And then I'm going to go into pine green. So I should have 27 probably on this side. So where am I at again? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, so we're okay for space, if I did that right. And I'm gonna go to my other back side of my sheet, start a different little background. And then this one is called, what is this? This is called Boreal Green. Like the boreal forest. Not sure if that was where that name came from. It's sort of a more of a neutral grayish green. And then we're gonna go to the Zandra C, which is one of my faves. It's this turquoise that's just like, oops, there, I dripped it into the, which one was that? The butter yellow, but that's okay. We can kind of remedy that. Just such a pretty color, but I do get a lot of pigment on my brush. Whoops, and there it goes into there, which is okay. It's not a big deal. So it's like a beautiful, almost like the most beautiful tropical ocean turquoise. Absolutely gorgeous. And then I might just go back to this yellow. And that was, I think this is butter. This is, I think, cloudless sulfur. So I'm just gonna go back to, there's butter, there's cloudless sulfur. Was it that one? I think it might have been butter actually. I don't know. There, that's okay. Yes, it was butter. And if it's not, that's okay. Just try not to touch them together. Just to stay true to the exercise, right? Whoa! Ah! Oh, that's so funny. They're so pretty though. Very pretty. They're just meant to be side by side, I guess. Okay, and then we're gonna go, oh shoot. Here we go. I'm gonna use this one, which is Mars Black. So black is another neutral. I kind of like the drips or the little splatters I have now. I wasn't too keen on it initially, but I like them. Add this black in here, which adds contrast to work. So sometimes I'm hesitant, or I used to be hesitant when I first started. Oh gosh, look at how much that's going into there. That's okay. The boreal is being taken over by the Zandra C, and we can just fix that up later. And the next one is violet. Now this color is so dense and pigmented and opaque, and like, watch, isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I'm not a big fan of using purple in my work, but this color, this violet from Beam Paints, is really, it's so beautiful. It's almost like a royal blue with a hint of a grape purple in it. And we'll go to this color here, which is ice color. Wondering how much time. Wow, an hour. Wow, swatching. Well, I was quite sidetracked, wasn't I? So, oops, and there I go. Ice is moving into violet, or violet's moving into ice, and that's okay. It looks kind of pretty. We'll just let that happen because it's not taking over the full color. I didn't have enough water there. So beam paints are amazing. When I first got them, I didn't find them super pigmented, but I think I just didn't give them a chance, and I don't think I would go back to another brand for a while. I do mix my watercolors. I have a lot of wonderful watercolors I want to use up, so when I do videos, I use multiple brands. I love the Kuretake Gambi from Japan, the opaque gouache-like watercolors. I love, again, the oceanpaper.com. They're amazing. I love, I think it's Koi watercolors. They were one of the first sets that I had. Oh, and this is Sky Blue, which looks like a gorgeous, almost like a sky you would see in a cartoon. Like, I don't know. I never watched The Simpsons, but that show, the beginning always had these big white clouds and blue sky, didn't it? Or maybe it didn't. I don't know. I'm just sidetracking. Blue. Add some blue in this one. Gone back to my first swatch. Adding some sky blue. We're getting there. I'd be amazed if you guys stuck with me through these swatch videos. Whenever I watch videos, I put them on double or triple speed, which is because I get a bit impatient. And although I have to admit, I've been watching Denise Love's videos. I've watched a couple of hers the last few days, and I really, really love listening to her. Same with Patty Tolley Parrish. There's certain people that I just love listening to their dialogue. And okay, this is Robin's Egg, which is very much like the ocean paper, a paint called Glass. But you can see I'm putting it on thicker because I love it. Really filling up this palette. So my husband was born deaf and he lip reads. He doesn't do sign language. And when we watch shows together, TV shows, we joke about putting them on double or triple speed. So not only does that mean speeding up the images, the show, but it means speeding up the subtitles. So we've been together a really long time, like I think since 2006. But when I first started dating him, I would really have a hard time with reading subtitles. Like it really takes a lot of practice, and I'm not sure why I'm talking about this right now, but double speeding, and oh yeah, because when you're double speeding videos, I don't know how he does it sometimes with keeping up with reading the words to try and hear what's being said and also watch the show. I think I miss so much. So this is Grape. This reminds me of, I think it was Grimace, like from, oh my gosh, I'm dating myself, the 70s. Well, I was born in the 70s, but like, McDonald's, and I remember Happy Meals, and wasn't there a character named Grimace, that big, is it a dinosaur or something? He was purple. I don't know. Just, okay, Lake Huron Teal. Ugh, this is really pretty. I like the name too. Lake Huron Teal. It's almost like the Salish Sea, but it's lighter. It's a very, very pretty color. And it looks so good on this swatch. And now we're gonna go into, this one's called Almost Night. not quite, almost night. And I've put a lot of water, so I'm just gonna drip that on. Oh, and I thought it was a purple hue, but it's this gorgeous blue. Really, really pretty blue, almost like a primary color blue. I'm gonna put that one over here. And as I said, we can go back to that sheet that I'm cleaning my brush on, and those always make the best paintings, those sheets. So this one is Prussian blue. Which is very much just darker than almost night, that one to the left. I'm using quite a bit of pigment there, and I don't like that blue that fell in there, so I'm just gonna do that. Put this on my sheet. And this grape, I'll just add in a little bit there just to fix it up a bit. And I'm gonna go to Cloud Gray. And it looks a little bit like ice. This is ice. So we'll just put that over here. Cloud Gray. That's a really good neutral. I like that one a lot. I might just add that on this sheet. And then I have Great Ocean. This one looks like a beautiful purpley blue. Everybody sees color differently, so it's just very interesting to know what colors appeal to different people. And you almost wonder if we see color totally differently, some of us. And, you know, we don't really think about that. So this is called Amethyst. I think my mom has a beautiful amethyst stone. She used to teach school. She taught grade 3 for many, many years. And I think it was a gift. I don't know if it was from another teacher or a student, but amethyst. And I have to say, this watercolor, the mica pigments, those shimmery pigments, it really does remind me of her amethyst stone. It's so beautiful, the crystal. So I'm just gonna get that down. And I'm gonna put that on this sheet, which is almost, it has cooler colors. So cooler colors, which I think recede in paintings, whereas warmer colors pull you in. Warmer colors like oranges and reds and pinks, and coolers like I think blues and greens and purples. And I'm gonna do this one is called Lilac. I have no idea. I don't feel like counting right now on what's on my palette. I think I have a lot of room. How many do I have left here? Yeah, I have quite a bit of room. Now where do I want to go? I'll do some of the lighter colors here because my brush is clean. So this one is Silver, which is an obvious name. Really beautiful, beautiful pigment in there. I like silver next to that blue, that Great Ocean, Prussian blue. I use more gold than I do silver in my work. the work that I sell anyway. And what's this one? Glacial Rivers. So this is a beautiful shimmery blue. Probably would have been helpful to put the blues right next to each other so you can compare, but that's all right. This is all just practice and play, and it's meant to be, for me anyway, it's an exercise in relaxation. And I might just move my palette up a little bit. I do have quite a bit of space left, so that's good. I might be able to sneak on some other brands even. I'm not going to be too particular. This is called Beach Sand. So this one's Pumpkin Spice, one of my favorite colors of Beam paints. But this one is a lighter version that's very beautiful. Really is like a sandy beach with a beautiful sparkle. And that would look really good over top of some of these dried colors here on my swatch sheet, which is really filling up. And then this is gold. I thought we had done gold, but I guess not. So looks really, really nice. And the more pigment and the less water, again, I've been using a bit more water here on this swatch than I usually do. But it just depends what you like. We're getting there. Wild salmon. Oh, this is another one of the colors that I like next to pumpkin spice. This is more of a pinky, shimmery. I'll put it up here by the red. So pretty. And we'll go over top of the red with that in here. And we're gonna do, so this is white, which will not show up very well unless I get a ton of pigment on, but kind of did. Hopefully I remember it's there. Okay, white. I guess that was kind of pointless, but and I should have put the white over top of my swatch, because that's a really neat way of adding a bit of an opaque layer to dried watercolor. So this one is called Shell. It's not quite silver. It's like a pearl color. See, I almost covered up white. Just put that here. Look at how much room I have on my palette. Maybe I can do mark making, my favorite mark making on the other side. We'll see how we do. And I'm gonna turn you around and go into, this is gold mica. So not gold, just this is gold mica. Slip it right in here. It's kind of blending with that other one, and that's okay. And I'm gonna put some gold on this sheet. And we're gonna go into some of our darker colors. This one is called Wet Grizzly. I love that name. It definitely is like a wet brownish gray grizzly bear. You know, those National Geographic shows where the grizzly's coming out of the water with the fish. You can think of a wet grizzly. It's pretty good. I think that's actually pretty accurate. I really like that color. That's a really nice neutral. So I'll put it on here. And imagine, so my husband took my son swimming today, which was so sweet of him. I imagine they're going to be back soon, so I thought I'd sneak in this video. This one's called Wintry Night. Oh, I do not remember that color. That is amazing. I almost wonder if I'd forgotten that on my other swatch. Oh, no, it's here, right here. I just had used way more pigment this time, so really so beautiful. And again, I'm just randomly placing the brush marks on that extra page that you see me using. Okay, let's see, let's do Timberwolf Gray. I love that name. This is an amazing neutral. I love this. It's like this beautiful grayish blue. It's very calming. And we have 4 more to go, so I've left a lot of space, which is awesome. And it was not intentional, but it's just, it leaves room for something different, more fun. Maybe some other colors of some kind, or again, marks. Now this is called Slate. It's a very light gray. This particular one, I'm putting quite a bit of pigment on, so it's very, very light. So just so you have a heads up on that. Very, very light. Which is nice if you're doing like transparency. You can just see when putting it on over those colors. Very beautiful. Whoops, something went overboard and I just splashed water. That's kind of neat, the splash strip that I got there. And Blueberry Mountain. We'll put up here. Whoa, that is really beautiful. Kind of like the violet, but more of a grape purple. We'll put it on my sheet that has more of the cool tones. And we're so close. We have graphite. Just try not to run into my white, my non-existent white. So graphite it's fairly light. You need to get a lot of pigment on your brush, but it's a nice color. A really nice neutral. And I might add some neutral, or sorry, just some darker kind of neutrals in here, just to add a bit more contrast and interest. We're almost done this palette. This is called Gray Ochre. So there's red ochre, yellow ochre. There's probably some other ochres, I don't know. This is Gray Ochre, which is very similar to graphite, just lighter. Okay, there we are.